You are not the champagne we ordered? Get off my jet! Floodlights bleach the private runway at midnight as 3 billionaires stride toward their glossy gull-wing aircraft, vintage leather weekenders swinging like trophies. Captain Malik Carter, uniform pressed to military precision, stands at the stairway, palm raised in greeting. Oil tycoon Damien Voss slices the air with the insult, his voice polished and poisonous. Cameras belonging to a lifestyle crew pop, hunting a red carpet departure. Each flash needles Malik's composure. Voss's companions snicker, mistaking his uniform for a novelty costume rented for their amusement. Inside, brushed steel panels gleam beside cream suede seats that cost more than most homes. Custom power gauges pulse SkyGreen, silent proof that the jet runs on the biofuel created by Malik's own company, SkyGreen Biofuel. He is not merely a pilot, he is the architect of the technology breathing life into these engines, a decorated former fighter ace who once rode lightning through storm layers at Mach speed. None of that history matters to the passengers already pouring 30-year scotch. Their laughter drips arrogance. A chauffeur in a flight suit? How quaint, one jeers while texting a yacht chef about breakfast caviar. Another flicks a platinum card toward Malik, instructing him to fetch iced citrus water. The card lands at Malik's polished shoes. He does not bend to pick it up. Instead, he inhales slowly, parade ground slow, letting cockpit memories steady his pulse. A junior attendant whispers that public relations demands wheels up in 20 minutes. Malik nods, even as the words blur beneath a memory of his mother coughing after long refinery shifts, the very kind these men still operate without filters. He once promised her he would clean the sky. Tonight, that sky feels heavy with irony. He walks the narrow aisle toward the flight deck, passing crystal flutes already filled. Over the intercom, he hears passengers complain that the aircraft smells too earthy. Must be budget fuel. Heat crawls under his collar. They sip luxury while he shoulders the weight of revolution. Malik straps into the left seat, fingers gliding across the touchscreen that monitors real-time cloud license validation. A hidden submenu holds a single red button labeled Lock All Engines. He coded it after last week's board meeting where directors laughed off his report on racial bias, calling it a distraction from revenue. Remembering their smirks sharpens his resolve. Outside, ground crew pull back the stairs. Malik looks through the windshield at a hunter moon mirrored on polished aluminum. His silhouette stands alone against the glow, a figure poised not just to fly a jet, but to reroute an industry. One choice hovers between routine obedience and seismic reckoning. As the hydraulic door seals with a hush, the insult still echoes. But now it sounds less like humiliation and more like ignition. Security guards in neon yellow vests step onto the carpet runner, their radios crackling with tense orders. Passenger liaison Paige Sinclair tries to soften the scene, offering Malik an apologetic smile that dies when Damien Voss snaps. Remove that man before our champagne loses its chill. The guards pivot toward the cockpit. Malik's fingers hover over the avionics startup, then relax. He unclips his harness, stands, and faces the intrusion with shoulders squared. "Captain, please accompany us," a guard murmurs, eyes darting toward live-stream cameras already spinning for social media. Malik walks the aisle flanked by velvet seats, feeling phone lenses track him like sniper scopes. The billionaires do not lower their voices. "Better call the valet to bring his shuttle bus," one passenger mocks. Another laughs. "Sure he even has a license? Probably just a diversity hire." Each barb lands harder than turbulence. Malik counts the beats of his own heart the way he once counted tracers arcing across night skies. 12 paces to the door, 11, 10. Every step rewinds memories. Naval Academy instructors praising his precision, wingmen cheering at medal ceremonies, boardrooms where venture capitalists shook his hand but recoiled when cameras flashed. The gulf between merit and respect feels endless here, amid Persian wool carpet. Outside, floodlights blaze hotter now, drawing moths and news drones alike. Reporters shout questions about a rumored pilot swap. Malik stays silent, refusing to feed the spectacle. A gust carries jet fuel tang from a neighboring runway, reminding him why he invented SkyGreen biothrust in the first place. He studies the idle fleet. Fuselages glow silver under the moon, yet mask a darker truth. Every hour, these crafts burn legacy kerosene. Coastal cities drown a little deeper. A limousine idles at the hangar, chauffeur holding its rear door. Security expects Malik to slide inside and disappear. Instead, he halts beside the aircraft's nose cone, eyes locking on the corporate insignia he designed, a stylized wing sprouting a leaf. The irony twists inside his chest. Over a portable speaker, Malik hears a passenger joke. Next, he'll ask to polish the landing gear. Laughter erupts. Then a voice he recognizes as Voss mutters, "These people always overreach." The phrase strikes like flak. Malik watches a ground mechanic wipe fingerprints from the stabilizer, an act of care the passengers will never notice. Decision crystallizes. Malik turns to security. "May I collect my effects from the cockpit?" The guard hesitates, grants a nod. Malik climbs the stairs once more, retracing steps into the dim flight deck. He reaches beneath the captain's seat for the encrypted tablet, his silent co-pilot hidden in a slim carbon sleeve. Screen wakes at his thumbprint, the lock all engines icon pulsing like a heartbeat. Outside, hydraulics hiss while cargo doors seal. He feels the moment pivot. Either he boards that limousine and surrenders, or he presses a digital trigger that could stall a global fleet. The tablet awaits his answer. "I own the engines that keep you airborne, and I just turned them off." The sentence leaves Malik's lips in a whisper, but the tablet microphone picks it up and routes it through every intercom speaker inside the jet. Cockpit lights dim as the lock all engines command reaches the server farm where SkyGreen licenses live. A row of green status bars flips to red one by one. The flight computer hum turns into a soft click, like a heart skipping a beat. In that instant, Malik feels lighter, as if gravity takes a respectful step back. 50 sister aircraft sit on distant tarmacs from Dubai to Sao Paulo, each relying on the same encrypted validation key. Within 8 seconds, they all fail their health check. Auxiliary power units spin down, cabin mood lights fade, and crews scramble for manuals that cannot help them. Air traffic controllers phone maintenance centers that have no idea why state-of-the-art biofuel turbines suddenly register inactive. A single line scrolls across every engineering display. License suspended by owner. Inside Damien Voss's jet, confusion gives way to panic. Champagne flutes slide on lacquered trays as cabin pressure systems stall. The Billionaire storms forward, pounding on the locked cockpit door. "What did you do?" he shouts, voice cracking for the first time all night. Malik watches the reinforced handle vibrate under each blow, but the door holds just as firmly as his resolve. Across the runway, reporters film ground crews waving arms in frantic semaphore. A duty manager sprints toward the jet with a satellite phone pressed to his ear, shouting updates that dissolve in the roar of idling trucks. Stock tickers on mobile screens begin flashing warnings about a private aviation outage. Investors in 3 time zones join conference calls, while night sky turns a deeper shade of crisis. Malik toggles the cabin address channel once more. His tone is steady, almost calm. This aircraft and every other vessel using SkyGreen power is grounded until 2 conditions are met. First, the operator signs a binding zero-emission transition schedule. Second, every flight crew completes certified anti-bias training. Until both signatures are on record, not a single engine will relight. He pauses, letting silence stretch long enough for passengers to taste their own vulnerability. Then he speaks past them to an unseen audience. If you believe standing up to hatred is worth stopping the wheels, type the word ground hate beneath this video. Let the world know where you stand. In the hush that follows, an engine monitoring gauge resets to 0. Malik places the tablet on the glare shield, folds his hands, and waits for the clock to start counting the cost of prejudice. Running lights blink uselessly on idle wings, while the private terminal descends into organized chaos. Air traffic control in London reports that a Gulfstream bound for Riyadh has lost engine validation and cannot taxi. 5 seconds later, a dispatcher in New York sees the same red fault on a jet scheduled for Tokyo. Within 1 minute, 50 aircraft in 16 countries share the identical alert: license suspended by owner. Inside the operations center of Silver Meridian Airways, agents on night shift stare at frozen radar tags. The supervisor refreshes her screen, sees that every craft powered by SkyGreen biothrust has dropped from active status to maintenance hold. She checks the clock. 0014 local. Scheduled departures worth almost $400 million in charter revenue are now impossible. She radios the duty manager on the tarmac, voice pitched tight. "We have a fleet-wide lockout. Confirm cause." On Malik's former jet, passengers still pound the cockpit door, but their fury shifts to fear when cabin lights flicker to emergency mode. The air conditioning unit winds down, delivering a hush so absolute that even the rustle of silk suits sounds loud. Damien Voss tries his phone, yet finds no signal. Security protocols inside the aircraft have shifted to isolation. He looks toward the window and notices news drones hovering, red recording lights blinking. Any display of panic will be broadcast live. Across the apron, fuel trucks halt mid-route. Ground crews wave them back to safety lines, unsure whether engines might reboot without warning. A pair of mechanics crawl beneath a stalled Dassault Falcon, wrenches forgotten as they photograph the fault message for evidence. Their images post to aviation forums in seconds, triggering a wave of speculation. Cyber attack, act of terrorism, system test gone wrong. No one guesses a single person holds the master key. Financial fallout erupts next. Commodity traders who hold shares in biofuel futures see prices spike and then nosedive as algorithms fail to predict whether SkyGreen is compromised or merely paused. Commentators on overnight business channels scramble for talking points. Some call it the largest technical ground stop since the volcanic ash crisis. Others whisper that sabotage by environmental extremists might be at play. At the private terminal's VIP lounge, stranded elites glare at silent departure boards. The big screens rotate between advertisements for luxury holiday islands and the word delayed stamped across every flight. For the first time, the passengers experience what cancellation feels like to ordinary travelers, sitting in fluorescent airports without lounge access. Meanwhile, Malik stands inside an unmarked service hangar, tablet pressed to his chest. A single vibration signals that all lockout signals have propagated. He exhales once, slow and certain, then opens a secure channel to broadcast a simple statement. Clock starts now. Every hour costs you 10 million. Sign the 2 promises, and the engines wake up. The ultimatum leaves his device and travels farther than any jet tonight. 3 hours into the standstill, Silver Meridian's crisis team publishes an emergency press release blaming an unnamed cyber criminal group for maliciously compromising propulsion certificates. Major networks repeat the headline within minutes. Commentators speculate about hacktivists, hostile foreign states, even disgruntled employees. The theory grows legs because it comforts investors. If the outage is external, insurance might absorb the loss. Malik expected this narrative. In the back corner of a service hangar, he connects his tablet to a hardline console, then types a 34-character command that pushes a single file to every major newsroom inbox. The subject line reads, "Ownership verification, SkyGreen fuel licenses." Attached is a notarized registry extract showing that Malik Carter personally holds 100% of the intellectual property governing SkyGreen's cloud validation keys. No breach, no outside sabotage, just a lawful owner choosing to flip his own switch. Within 5 minutes, tech journalist Olivia Reyes posts the document on her live blog, highlighting 3 lines. License authority, Malik J. Carter, control tier, root, revocation rights, unlimited. The article goes viral in real time, turning the cyber attack story inside out. Instead of a shadowy hacker cell, the public now pictures a single pilot engineer asserting moral leverage over billionaire polluters. Corporate phone trees light up like flares. At Silver Meridian headquarters, the general counsel bursts into an emergency board session, clutching a printout of the registry. Legal strategy vaporizes under the revelation that the company never purchased outright control of the fuel technology. Only a subscription contingent on Malik's authorization. Executives who once laughed at his concerns about equity now argue over clauses they never bothered to read. On the ground in Hong Kong, a stranded crew chief refreshes her status screen and notices the error message has updated. The cloud server no longer says license suspended by owner. It displays a link to the public document and a timer counting financial damage in bright numerals. She snaps a photo and uploads it to a pilot forum. Flight crews worldwide begin sharing the post, many voicing support for Malik's stand, even as they worry about their own job security. Back at the private terminal, Damien Voss glares at the televised news crawl showing Malik's name beside phrases like sole authority and ethical protest. He realizes the cameras recording his outrage could become evidence of bigotry, so he smooths his jacket and rehearses a softer line for the press. Yet his nerves betray him. Sweat beads under the collar despite the cooled lounge. Malik watches the news update on a dusty monitor bolted to the hangar wall. The headline scrolling beneath his photo confirms the twist he engineered. This is no cyber heist, but a conscience-driven shutdown. With the blame narrative shattered, public sympathy tilts decisively in his favor, and the airline's leadership loses its last shield of plausible denial. Pay the climate debt or stay on the ground for good. Malik drops that sentence into a new broadcast, which he streams from the corner of the service hangar. A handheld camera frames his face against the silent jet behind him. The video auto-posts on every platform where the airline advertises first-class routes. Within seconds, thousands of viewers join the live stream, posting rapid-fire comments about stranded billionaires and a pilot turned whistleblower. Malik reads the metrics in a side panel. 120,000 concurrent eyes and rising. He lays out two formal conditions. 1. Silver Meridian must sign a legally binding transition plan to operate only zero-emission aircraft by the end of the decade. 2. Every member of flight and ground staff must complete certified anti-bias training with public proof of graduation. A notary sits beside him, ready to stamp digital paperwork the instant signatures arrive. Malik ends the statement by inviting viewers to type the word "clean sky" if they agree every passenger deserves both respect and breathable air. Inside the main terminal, a hastily convened board meeting drags company officers out of silk pajamas and into rumpled blazers. The chief legal officer insists they can sue Malik for tortious interference. The risk officer counters that brand damage is already burning through cash reserves faster than any settlement would recover. Outside the conference room, glass, the departure board still shows an unbroken column of the word "delayed." News channels run split screens. On the left, luxury aircraft sitting motionless in moonlight. On the right, financial tickers bleeding red as partners cancel lucrative charter contracts. An analyst calculates that every idle minute costs roughly $160,000 in depreciation, crew overtime, and missed slot fees. She predicts the airline will breach lending covenants before sunrise if the ground stop continues. Passengers trapped inside the flagship Gulfstream move from anger to desperation. One tries to charter a helicopter, only to be told that security has locked down the perimeter to prevent media frenzy. Another calls a rival carrier, but learns their newest jets also run on SkyGreen fuel. Whispered panic spreads. No one can fly anywhere until they satisfy a single pilot's conscience. Meanwhile, union representatives for flight crews issue an open letter supporting Malik's climate demand while urging him to preserve jobs. Their statement trends across professional forums, adding moral weight on both labor and environmental fronts. Shareholder activists latch on to the moment, tweeting that they will file a motion to replace the chair unless management accepts the zero-emission pledge by dawn. In the hangar, Malik's tablet pings with an incoming document. It is a draft memorandum from the airline's legal team proposing a temporary compliance framework. He scans the text. Soft language, loopholes, no enforcement. With calm precision, he replies, "Conditional rejection. Bring enforceable metrics or the fleet remains silent." He clicks send, then looks straight into the live camera. If you support true accountability, type "clean sky" and keep your message visible. They will watch the numbers climb while their planes do not. Viewer comments flood the chat in bright streams of the same word, each one another quiet engine Malik refuses to start. The world watches billionaires beg for mercy on live television. News anchors speak the line almost in unison as satellite feeds from 6 airports light up every major network. Helicopter shots linger on empty runways where private jets sit nose to wind, navigation beacons blinking like warnings to the sky itself. Viewers who never set foot in a charter lounge now see gold-plated stairways leading nowhere. Camera lenses zoom in on Damien Voss pacing behind tinted glass, his face mottled with panic. But the audio mix engineers keep their mics pointed at flight crews clustered by fences, quietly cheering for Captain Malik Carter. Social media dashboards peg engagement spikes at levels usually reserved for natural disasters. The tag "clean sky" surges into the global top spot. Analysts record more than 2 million uses in a single hour. Clips of Malik's ultimatum circulate faster than press officers can draft rebuttals. each repost adding subtitles in a new language. Late-night hosts interrupt comedy monologues to show looping footage of frozen jets while studio audiences chant the pilot's name. Financial journalists sharpen their tone. An anchor on the International Business Channel recites fresh data. Market capitalization of Silver Meridian Airways has dropped 18% since midnight, wiping nearly $7 billion from its ledger. Pension funds and sovereign wealth managers demand an emergency call with the chief executive, but the airline's board cannot agree on talking points. Some directors argue for surrender to Malik's demands. Others insist capitulation would invite copycats across every industry dependent on green licensing. The stalemate leaks to reporters, fueling a storyline of corporate paralysis. Pressure mounts in politics as well. A senator on the Environmental Affairs Committee tweets that Malik's ground stop exposes how unprepared government regulators are to enforce climate commitments. The Transportation Secretary schedules a press conference, but delays it twice after advisors admit they have no legal mechanism to compel Malik to unlock privately owned intellectual property. Meanwhile, environmental justice groups seize the microphone, highlighting decades of pollution inflicted on minority neighborhoods by luxury aviation corridors. They announce a rally outside Silver Meridian headquarters at dawn. Inside the airline's crisis bunker, advisors calculate public relations burn rate, in real time. Every minute without a tangible concession from management erodes brand value faster than paid advertising can ever rebuild. Focus group transcripts show that even high-net-worth travelers express grudging respect for Malik's stand. They view the airline as indifferent to both planet and people. A marketing vice president proposes launching a philanthropic initiative, but finance counters that no donation will look sincere while the jets remain idle. Back in the service hangar, Malik closes his streaming window and studies sentiment charts scrolling across his tablet. The graphs confirm momentum tilting further toward his cause. Yet he knows goodwill can evaporate if he missteps. He steadies his breathing the way he once did before catapult launch on an aircraft carrier, aware that the next hours decide whether his mission becomes enduring reform or fleeting spectacle. Every man has a price. Tell me yours. The disembodied sentence hisses from a speakerphone on a mahogany table inside Silver Meridian's executive bunker. Chief Executive Roland Mercer sits beneath recessed lights, tie loosened, eyes rimmed red. Across the secure video link, Malik appears in flight uniform against the dim backdrop of a service hangar. A corporate mediator tries to smile, but her voice quavers. The call is being recorded for private archival, she explains. Malik quietly toggles a second camera on his tablet, streaming the negotiation to a public channel without announcing it. Mercer slides a digital document across the conference screen. It promises a severance package labeled consultancy payout, plus lifetime use of any Silver Meridian jet. 2 paragraphs of non-disclosure language trail the offer like chains. Malik studies the figures, then lifts his gaze. "You think silence can be purchased like upholstery leather," he says. His words travel through corporate firewalls, emerge on thousands of viewers' phones, and draw instant comments that push the live stream count past 300,000. Mercer stiffens when he realizes the conversation is public. He covers the microphone, hissing at aides who scramble to kill the feed. But Malik controls the connection. The pilot's voice stays calm, even gentle. "A buyout buys no breath for the planet and no dignity for your crews," he explains. "Stop bargaining with comfort. Commit to accountability." Stock analysts watching the feed transcribe every syllable. Investment models recalculate risk as they notice Malik's negotiation posture. immovable on principle, flexible only on verification timelines. Meanwhile, passengers trapped in lounges refresh their tablets and witness the CEO attempting hush money rather than climate compliance. Anger turns to open contempt. One high-profile venture capitalist publicly tweets that he will never charter with Silver Meridian again. Mercer's shoulders slump as he senses leverage slipping. He gestures to legal counsel for a fallback plan, but Malik speaks first. "You may keep the severance clause," he says. "Just sign it for your lowest-paid ground handler instead of me. Align the rest of the budget toward converting every engine you own." The mediator blinks, realizing this ask actually costs less than the ongoing shutdown. Yet Mercer hesitates. His pride bleeds onto the table. Malik gives him seconds to decide, then tilts the tablet so the camera faces the silent fleet outside. Engines remain dark, their reflections in runway puddles resembling grounded birds. "You built an empire on the belief the sky is yours," Malik says. "Sign the promise that the sky belongs to everyone, or stay earthbound while the world watches." He ends the call without waiting for a response, leaving the boardroom frozen and the live stream viewers cheering the pilot who sells nothing but demands everything that matters. Control rooms worldwide still scan idle jet icons when a new alert pulses across Malik's tablet. Unrecognized command injection detected. Someone is trying to force unlock the engines from outside SkyGreen's server. For a fraction of a second, he wonders if Silver Meridian has hired black hat contractors, but packet traces reveal a different source tag: Horizon Petrotech, the largest fossil fuel supplier in private aviation. Inside Horizon's glass headquarters, a covert operations team believes it has found its opening. If they can hijack SkyGreen's licensing kernel and publish the exploit, clients will abandon biofuel for conventional gas turbines by morning. Malik watches the log stream as Horizon's script floods his network with brute force keys, each attempt threatening to corrupt the very system that keeps the fleet grounded. He turns from the main console to a rusty utility shelf where an old laptop sits, still loaded with the secure flight deck operating system he coded years ago. Its architecture is air-gapped, immune to cloud penetrations. Malik types a command string that reroutes all incoming traffic through a sandbox, isolating Horizon's packets before they touch production servers. On the hangar ceiling, a fluorescent tube flickers, casting sharp shadows while the pilot fights a silent cyber dogfight. Every 30 seconds, new probes arrive, and Malik counters with firewall rules written on the fly. He can hold the line for hours, but he realizes the public narrative could flip. If Horizon claims success, the world may believe biofuel is unsafe, undermining the very climate demand he is fighting for. He needs proof of the attack and a defensive victory the public can understand. Using the air-gapped laptop, he compiles a lightweight diagnostic that records digital fingerprints of the intrusion in real time. He streams the packet capture on an open feed, explaining in plain language how the fossil fuel giant is risking passenger lives to regain market share. Comments pour in as viewers connect dots. The only party willing to break safety protocols is the one whose profits dwindle when jets run clean. At Horizon Control, analysts gasp as their own dashboard begins broadcasting on a split screen next to Malik's feed, exposing their operation. Regulators who had been hesitant to intervene now message Malik directly, asking for logs to start an investigation. The tide turns once more, but the attack leaves a scar. Several redundant nodes in SkyGreen's cluster show elevated error rates, meaning the lock could fracture if pressure continues. Malik patches the nodes, fingers moving with the steady rhythm of a pilot balancing thrust in a crosswind. When the last warning light fades, he closes the public stream with a single sentence. Clean fuel is not the threat. Greed is. Viewers echo the line across networks, while Horizon scrambles to issue a denial no one believes. Steel rain rattles the roof of the service hangar, while Malik copies the last security log to an external drive. The storm feels awkwardly personal, as if the night sky wants to echo everything he is about to remember. A mechanic offers coffee, but he waves it away and slips through a side door into the quieter maintenance corridor. There, with no one watching, he allows the past to climb out of its locked compartment. 7 years earlier, Lieutenant Malik Carter slices through a thunderhead over the Arabian Gulf, flying escort for a humanitarian cargo flight. His F-18 burns standard military jet fuel, and the cockpit reeks of chemical exhaust that seeps through microfractures in the seal. Radio chatter crackles with warnings about heat signatures, but Malik focuses on readings from the environmental control system. Every minute, the cabin temperature climbs, forcing him to remove an oxygen mask for a quick breath of cooler air. He does not know that volatile organic compounds inside the fuel line already tick upward past safe limits. 2 days later, in the medical tent, Malik wakes to the sound of another pilot coughing into gauze. 3 squadron mates share that tent. One never leaves it. Military investigators attribute the incident to rare exposure combined with extreme thermal stress, then classify the file to protect procurement contracts. Malik requests confirmation of follow-up testing across the fleet and receives silence. That silence lodges in his ribs like shrapnel. He resigns his commission within the year, applies to an engineering program on sustainable propulsion, and mortgages every family asset to build an experimental algae reactor in his garage. While friends chase commercial airline gigs, Malik studies catalytic conversion rates and renders code that pairs each biofuel batch with a cryptographic license. Engines unlock only if formulas pass emissions benchmarks. Investors laugh until they notice global regulations tightening. Suddenly, Malik's prototype becomes SkyGreen biofuel, and his coding side project becomes the gatekeeper of a new industry standard. The memory fades as thunder rolls again. Malik taps the external drive against his palm, feeling the weight of every recorded intrusion packet, every fallen comrade, every corporate dismissal. He walks back into the main hangar where ground crew huddle over news screens. They recognize him now, not as a disgruntled chauffeur, but as the man whose technology underwrites their future paychecks. A junior technician salutes impulsively. Malik nods, unsure whether he has earned that gesture or is merely borrowing it from the uniform he no longer wears. Flashes from press cameras streak through the open hangar doors, trying to capture his face, eager for another angle. Malik tightens his grip on the drive. The storm will pass, but only if the industry he once trusted decides to confront its own fumes. A wall-mounted television in the hangar cuts to a live podium at Federal Aviation headquarters. The agency's crest glints behind Deputy Administrator Lenora Pike as she clears her throat. Her statement is direct. The government is reviewing SkyGreen's airworthiness certificate for potential suspension, effective immediately, on the grounds that its licensing system has created unacceptable operational risk. Reporters fire questions about accountability and stranded dignitaries. Pike repeats the phrase unacceptable risk until it sounds like a verdict. The announcement hits the trading floors within seconds. SkyGreen's parent company drops another 8% before Malik even finishes absorbing the words. He tastes the metallic aftershock of bureaucratic betrayal. Regulators aim their penalty at clean technology rather than at the carrier whose crew mocked a black pilot off the flight deck. A mechanic nearby curses under his breath, certain the fleet will stay grounded for months if certification goes. Malik inhales once, steadying the pulse that used to spike only when surface-to-air missiles tracked his wing. He opens a secure folder on his tablet labeled Contingency Echo. Inside sits a compressed archive of maintenance logs and email chains that SkyGreen technicians secretly forwarded over the past year. Each file documents how Silver Meridian mechanics bypassed emissions sensors during routine service, tricking the cloud audit into logging cleaner output than reality. Malik never released the cache, hoping the airline would reform willingly. Now the threat to revoke his license forces his hand. He drafts a short cover note. Evidence of systemic emissions fraud perpetrated by operator, not by SkyGreen technology. Then he attaches the archive and addresses it to Deputy Administrator Pike, CC to 3 investigative journalists, BCC to the public Dropbox of an environmental watchdog. He hits send. Within a minute, one journalist tweets screenshots of engine shop memos instructing staff to reroute exhaust during inspections. The story detonates across news feeds. Pike's press conference stalls mid-sentence as aides slip her a printout of the leak. Cameras capture her eyes moving left to right, widening with each line. She announces an unscheduled recess and steps away from the podium. Commentators fill the silence, noting the sudden pivot of blame toward Silver Meridian. Social media erupts with side-by-side headlines. FAA targets biofuel innovator versus airline falsified emissions for years. Inside the airline's executive bunker, legal counsel scrambles. If regulators confirm the fraud, Silver Meridian could face billions in fines and criminal exposure for senior officers. Directors who moments earlier cheered Pike's threat now curse the screens that display their own misconduct. One suggests pinning the fraud on an outside vendor, but audit trails point straight to the boardroom. Back in the hangar, Malik watches the broadcast feed resume. Pike returns, voice measured. The agency will open an immediate investigation into Silver Meridian, she says, and SkyGreen's certification review is paused pending new evidence. Mechanics around Malik break into quiet applause. He allows himself one slow nod. The government's crosshairs have shifted, and the countdown clock now ticks over the heads of those who thought they could bury guilt under paperwork. The sky begins to lighten at the edge of the horizon, but every jet on the radar is still dark. Malik's timer shows 5 hours and 43 minutes since the lockout began. A silver sedan speeds across the tarmac and stops beside the hangar. A public relations aide from Silver Meridian steps out, waving a folder that reads, "Final Offer." Malik scans the pages. A vague pledge, no enforcement dates, optional bias workshops. He hands the folder back without a word. Inside the flagship Gulfstream, cabin air has grown stale. Parents try to calm 2 children whose inhalers run low. A flight attendant launches a video call, pleading for medical clearance to open a door. The airline refuses, afraid images of stranded elites disembarking will confirm defeat. One child, 8-year-old Zoe, starts live streaming on her tablet anyway. Her small voice fills timelines worldwide. "Why can't we breathe in Dad's airplane?" The clip explodes across social feeds. Viewers tag health authorities, news outlets, environmental groups. Within minutes, ambulance sirens pierce the pre-dawn quiet, racing toward the jet. Cameras capture medics wheeling oxygen canisters up the stairs, while luxury-clad passengers shield their faces. Silver Meridian executives finally realize the optics are lethal. In the hangar, Malik's screen lights up with an incoming call from Chief Executive Roland Mercer. This time Mercer does not bargain. He asks for the agreement template Malik proposed on the first broadcast. Malik opens the document, adding 2 hard deadlines: convert the entire fleet to certified zero-emission engines by December 31st, 5 years from now, and publish annual audit data verified by independent inspectors. He also requires that every employee, beginning with the board, complete anti-bias training before the aircraft certificate is renewed. Mercer hesitates. Malik rotates his tablet toward the open hangar door where the ambulance lights flash against polished fuselages. "Every minute you stall, public trust bleeds," he says. "Sign and we lift together. Stall and the fleet never climbs." Mercer nods once and begins signing on a digital pad. The notary countersigns in real time. Cloud timestamps seal each page. Malik turns back to his stream. His voice is steady but urgent. "If you believe clean skies and equal respect must be non-negotiable industry standards, type the words "clear air" in the comments right now." Chat windows flood with the phrase. The counter beside the timer climbs faster than any stock ticker. He presses Unlock All on the control panel. Across the globe, 50 status bars flip from red to green. Auxiliary units spool up, navigation lights blink awake, and the hush over private aviation breaks into a rising chorus of turbines. As Zoe exits the jet with fresh oxygen, she lifts her tablet toward the dawn and whispers, "The plane can breathe again." Malik hears the words through his headset and finally allows his shoulders to drop, though daybreak promises the real flight has only just begun. First light washes the field in soft gold as auxiliary power units settle into a smooth idle. Control towers confirm that every SkyGreen turbine now holds a restored validation stamp. On the apron, mechanics exchange cautious smiles, their headsets echoing with the long-delayed clearance to taxi. A moment that began in humiliation has become a pre-flight checklist for change. Inside the terminal's glass conference suite, Chief Executive Roland Mercer signs the last page of the binding transition accord. The document runs 43 clauses. It fixes firm milestones. Replace 1/4 of the fleet with certified zero-emission engines by the end of next year. Reach full conversion within 5. Annual carbon audits will publish to an open registry reviewed by international inspectors. A parallel annex allocates scholarship funds for training 100 black cadet pilots and covers living stipends so talent is never turned away for lack of means. Finally, every employee, from chairperson to ramp agent, must complete anti-bias study modules before the next operating license renewal. A notary seals the file, uploading a timestamp that cannot be edited without detection. News outlets beam the signing ceremony live. Malik stands beside Mercer, still in his flight uniform, posture steady yet not triumphant. Reporters ask whether a single pilot should wield such unilateral power. Malik answers that technological leverage is neutral. Conscience decides how it is used. He reminds the room that he never demanded money for himself, only accountability that should have existed from the start. The reply draws measured applause, even from journalists usually wary of activism within industry. Capital markets open 2 hours early to absorb shock. SkyGreen parent shares rebound 11% on confidence that the company now owns the future of premium aviation. Silver Meridian stock stabilizes after an overnight plunge, buoyed by analysts who predict wealthy travelers will reward a visible commitment to ethics and the planet. Environmental groups release supportive statements while reserving the right to audit progress each quarter. Labor unions celebrate the scholarship provisions, calling them a blueprint for true inclusion rather than public relations theater. As the first retrofitted jet rolls toward the runway, Malik steps aside for a quiet call with the family of Zoe, the child whose live stream crystallized public sentiment. He thanks her parents for allowing the footage to stay online. They thank him for restoring airflow to the cabin when time mattered most. Malik promises that scholarship slots will open the cockpit door to children like her, should they ever wish to fly. Engines spool louder, blending into the steady hum of a dawn now claimed by cleaner thrust and overdue respect. Malik watches the takeoff roll, knowing legal documents alone cannot guarantee change, yet also knowing that one signed promise beats 1,000 unkept apologies. First engines spool for departure just after 9 in the morning, their exhaust now a faint shimmer rather than a smoky plume. A small crowd gathers beyond the security line, phones raised to capture the moment Silver Meridian returns to the sky under new terms. Mechanics peel temporary stickers off the fuselage to reveal fresh SkyGreen logos, emerald leaf pattern wrapping each nacelle. The revised livery signals more than a marketing refresh. It announces that every pound of thrust will now answer to measurable limits. Malik walks up the mobile stairway in full uniform and pauses at the doorway to greet the flight attendant team. Several are the same crew who watched him escorted out hours earlier. This time they look him in the eye and nod with genuine respect. In the cabin, the billionaire passengers who mocked him sit belted in cream leather. They have been coached, yet their apologies sound personal. Damien Voss clears his throat and admits he never imagined the cost of a careless remark. Malik replies that the real debt is to the planet and to people whose voices travel less easily than private aircraft. Then he steps into the cockpit and slides into the left seat, settling hands on familiar controls. Pre-flight flows run without a hitch. Every gauge acknowledges the restored license, displaying live emissions metrics in a green band that earlier engineers considered unnecessary. Malik invites First Officer Yara Singh, a scholarship alum from his company's inaugural cadet cohort, to taxi out. Together, they roll onto the active runway while tower staff watch from glazing panels, cameras broadcasting the scene worldwide. Rotation comes at 140 knots. The jet lifts over field lighting and climbs through a bright morning layer, wings banking toward the coast. Malik listens as tower personnel cheer on the open frequency, a breach of protocol no one chooses to correct. At 3,000 feet, he engages autopilot and turns his seat half left to observe cabin reaction through a feed on the multi-function display. Passengers glance out oval windows at city blocks sliding below, their earlier anxieties replaced by quiet awe. Some pull tablets to draft statements promising further donations to clean tech funds. Back on the ramp, a second aircraft begins pushback. Reporters interview ground crew who describe the updated fueling procedure, sensor verification, carbon log upload, and a double signature that includes a trainee from the new equality curriculum. A maintenance supervisor explains that any future attempt to bypass filters will trigger an alert audible to every device on the field, including Malik's desk. 15 minutes into cruise, Malik opens the public channel one more time. He thanks viewers for patience and reminds them that true restoration means continuous proof, not a single headline. As sunlight flares off the wingtip, he allows himself a restrained smile. The horizon ahead holds no guarantees, yet it finally feels wide enough for everyone who chooses to fly responsibly. Morning financial wires open with twin headlines: SkyGreen shares rally on clean flight victory, Silver Meridian avoids collapse under strict climate terms. Trading desks in New York and Singapore scramble to model the new market reality. Analysts who once dismissed biofuel platforms now publish buy ratings for companies holding verified zero-emission patents. Venture capital shifts overnight, pushing billions toward next-generation propulsion labs. Malik's picture appears atop economic reports beside words like pivotal and catalyst, proof that ethics can move numbers at global scale. Mainstream outlets turn human interest lenses on the story. A national broadcaster profiles Yara Singh, the young first officer who co-piloted the relaunch. She tells classrooms that inclusion fuels innovation, her image projected on smartboards while students sketch aircraft with green wings. In a small township near Malik's boyhood home, a robotics club receives news that the new scholarship fund will cover every member's trip to an aerospace competition. They race outside, tracing contrails with chalk across playground asphalt. Silver Meridian begins its public restitution tour. Executives visit community centers that sit under historic flight paths, announcing grants for air quality monitors and tree planting corridors. Neighborhood leaders remain wary, but Malik accompanies the delegation, explaining carbon reporting dashboards that residents will control. Transparency becomes the currency of goodwill. Every ton of saved emissions posts live on a dashboard anyone can refresh. At the United Nations headquarters, an emergency climate summit convenes a special session on transport equity. Delegates give Malik the podium usually reserved for heads of state. He speaks without teleprompter, recalling the night he grounded the fleet, and the moment Zoe's small voice amplified a plea for breathable cabins. He proposes an international registry of propulsion licenses tied to human rights scoring. Applause begins as a polite gesture, then grows into sustained clapping that echoes through marble corridors. Back in the hangar district, children gather for a weekend workshop titled Build the Future Wing. Engineers distribute kits made from recycled composites. The pieces lock together without glue, teaching the value of modular, waste-free design. Malik arrives unannounced, kneels beside a girl adjusting her micro-turbine, and helps thread a wiring harness. Reporters note that he removes his pilot stripes before lifting a screwdriver, signaling that the next generation must fly on shared authority, not rank. Late that night, a statistics agency releases air quality data from perimeter sensors at the private terminal. Fine particulate levels stand 26% lower than on any comparable day in the past 5 years. The finding trends across science feeds, reinforcing a message money alone cannot buy. Cleaner skies are measurable within hours when leaders choose courage over habit. Malik reads the report on a tablet while refueling a test drone, satisfied but not finished, because measurable is only the first step toward permanent. Sunrise spills across the tarmac in slow amber sheets. Malik walks hand in hand with his 8-year-old daughter Amara, the concrete still cool under their sneakers. They pause beside a gleaming prototype marked SkyGreen NX-1, the first full-scale demonstrator designed for hydrogen-electric thrust. Vapor curls from cooling vents, clear as breath on winter glass, vanishing before it can stain the air. Amara asks why the plane is so quiet. Malik smiles, explaining that silence is the new sound of power. He lifts her onto a wheel chock so she can touch the smooth composite skin. A maintenance tech photographs the moment. The image will later appear on a recruitment poster reading, "Every sky's welcome." Across the field, journalists pack cables, their live shots complete, but a few linger for candid frames. One approaches Malik, requesting a final quote. He speaks softly, words intended as guidance rather than headline. Progress is not a destination. It is a flight plan reviewed before every takeoff. He hopes the industry will treat each departure as a chance to honor that logbook. A delivery van arrives carrying the first shipment of anti-bias training tablets. Ground handling crews sign for the crates, breaking the seals with box cutters and distributing devices to supervisors who schedule orientation shifts. The initiative feels mundane compared to a fleet lockout, yet Malik knows institutional change lives in repeated small acts. Amara points toward the control tower, where a banner flutters, printed by local students. Clear air begins here. The phrase once filled comment sections as a show of digital solidarity. Now it hangs in woven fabric, ready to fade under honest sun, rather than disappear into archived feeds. Malik tells her it is good to see words turn into cloth you can touch. An operations manager radios clearance for the NX-1 to taxi to an experimental runway. Malik kneels to Amara, promising he will be home for dinner, then jogs toward the prototype. Before climbing the ladder, he glances back. She shapes her hands into a loose circle, mimicking an aircraft window, framing him inside her pretend cabin. Cockpit glass seals with a faint hiss. Malik powers the systems, and instruments glow teal, reflecting eyes steady with purpose. He calls control for pushback. The tower responds using the new mandatory greeting introduced in the bias curriculum. "Good morning, Captain Carter. Sky is clear for approach and equal for all." As the NX-1 rolls forward, tire treads leave a faint line of condensed vapor that evaporates in seconds. No soot, no smell. Amara runs along the fence, waving. Malik keeps his gaze on the horizon, engine readouts steady in the green. A voice recorder captures his final words before thrust engagement. "They tried to ground me once, but now we lift everyone." The aircraft accelerates, nose rises, and together father, daughter, and dawning sky declare that flight belongs to every hand willing to guide it responsibly.